And the game award for Game of the Year goes to God of War.
Sekiro.
It Takes Two.
Elden Ring.
Baldur's Gate 3. Astro Bot.
Astro Bot, Sony's latest hit, has stepped into the spotlight as the industry's newest darling, sweeping the Game Awards with 4 wins, including the coveted Game of the Year trophy. And honestly, it's hard not to love. It's charming, polished, and undeniably fun. But what if I told you, with this Game of the Year winner announced, we could see changes to the gaming industry itself, and it all comes from this little blue robot. Its win raises questions about the criteria we use to reward games in the industry. Today, we're exploring the potential results of Astro Bot's victory and why it might not be beneficial for the future of gaming. Astro Bot originally started as part of a tech demo called the Playroom. It was designed to showcase how the DualShock 4 and PlayStation Eye camera could work together to create innovative gameplay. One of its levels, AR Bots, introduced the tiny robotic characters for the first time. You could interact with them inside of the controller, turning off the lights, shaking them around, and even flinging them into an augmented reality world where they would play right in your living room. 3 years later, the Playroom VR launched as another tech demo, this time showcasing PlayStation VR. The bots took on a bigger role, with levels that had you engaging in cat and mouse chases, escaping from a giant monster, and shooting outlaws as a robo sheriff. Astro was slowly stepping into the spotlight, but it wasn't until 2018 that he would finally get his own game. Astro Bot Rescue Mission. Astro had finally stepped out of the tech demo scene and into a fully fledged game. A 3D platformer that was built for the PSVR, using the previous 2 games as a basis for the VR interactions. It even won Best VR Game at the 2018 Game Awards, an award I had no idea it had won, but shows that winning awards has always been in Astro Bot's DNA. In its 4th installment, Astro Bot was once again reduced to a tech demo, this time showcasing the PS5's adaptive triggers and haptic feedback. Despite this, players loved the small taste of what Astro Bot had to offer: tight platforming, next-gen gameplay, and countless nostalgic references. It was on its way to becoming a great franchise. This latest entry is undeniably polished, with tight platforming, vibrant levels, and clever use of the PS5's features. Astro Bot is also a nostalgia machine. It's packed with Easter eggs and references to Sony's history, from collectibles of classic PlayStation hardware to nods to iconic franchises like Uncharted and God of War. Whole levels dedicated to PlayStation franchises, shooting and exploring as Nathan Drake, chasing and catching monkeys in Ape Escape. Even the forgotten Loco Roco gets some love here. For long-term fans, it's a dopamine hit of nostalgia, but when you strip away the references, what's left? At its core, Astro Bot is a solid platformer, but not a revolutionary one. A game that this is exactly like, in my opinion, is Super Mario Galaxy. Take Galaxy, strip away the originality, and sprinkle in some Sony properties, and you've got yourself Astro Bot. Just look at this level select screen. You cannot tell me with a straight face that Team Asobi weren't at least inspired by Mario Galaxy. Super Mario Galaxy took risks. It wasn't just a well-made platformer, it redefined what a platformer could be. It introduced players to gravity-defying mechanics, spherical worlds, and a sense of wonder that felt completely fresh. The similarities aren't coincidental. Sony has a long history of adapting Nintendo's formulas to create their own products. Just as Astro Bot feels like a reflection of Super Mario Galaxy, Crash Team Racing was Sony's answer to Mario Kart, and PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale was a clear attempt to emulate Super Smash Bros. While imitation is common in the industry, Sony's repeated pattern of following Nintendo's lead is particularly notable. Rather than carving its own identity, Astro Bot fits neatly into this tradition. Now don't get me wrong, Astro is adorable, and Sony clearly wants him to be the next big mascot. Every console generation needs a face after all. Nintendo has Mario, Microsoft has Master Chief, and Sony, well, Sony have been a bit all over the place. They've tried with Crash Bandicoot, Sackboy, and even Knack for a little while, but Astro feels like the first character in a long old while they're really pushing to represent the brand as a whole. And he fits the bill perfectly. Astro is designed to appeal to everyone. He's cute enough for kids, nostalgic enough for long-time fans, and simple enough to showcase the PS5's capabilities without overwhelming new players. But in their quest to make Astro likeable, Sony's also made him kind of generic. He's a blank canvas to throw a costume on to remind you of another Sony property you love more than him. At the end of the day, Astro Bot feels like it's playing it safe. It's a celebration of the past, not a bold step into the future. While that's not inherently a bad thing, it becomes problematic when a game like this wins Game of the Year, because that title isn't just an award, it's a statement about the direction the industry is heading. Game of the Year isn't just an award, it's a benchmark. It's supposed to represent the best gaming has to offer. Titles that push boundaries, redefine genres, or tell stories that stay with us. Winners like It Takes Two and Elden Ring didn't just excel, they shifted the gaming landscape. In an era dominated by online multiplayer and single player experiences, It Takes Two proved that split screen cooperative play could still be innovative and commercially viable. The Friends Pass feature allows you to invite a friend to play for free, even if the friend didn't own the game. This helped remove barriers to co-op play and set an example for accessibility in multiplayer focused titles. Likewise, Elden Ring redefined the open world genre by seamlessly integrating From Software's signature Souls-like mechanics into a vast, interconnected landscape. Its non-linear exploration, deep lore, and challenging combat mechanics set new standards for player agency and world building in video games. The game's success demonstrated that complex, demanding gameplay could achieve both critical and commercial success, encouraging developers to pursue ambitious, player-driven narratives. Spawning games in the following years like the twisting retelling of Pinocchio, Lies of P, the charming and fun Another Crab's Treasure, my personal favourite of 2024, and of course, Game of the Year nominee, Black Myth Wukong. And if we look back even further, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time stands as a landmark achievement in gaming history, winning Best Game from both BAFTA and DICE in 1999. It wasn't just the first Zelda game to transition into 3D, it revolutionised how action-adventure games were made. Features like Z-targeting introduced a new way to navigate 3D spaces and interact with enemies, while its dynamic day-night cycle and richly immersive world became benchmarks for gaming. Ocarina of Time didn't just set the standards for its generation, it laid the foundation for countless games that followed, proving how technical innovation and masterful storytelling could create experiences that endure across decades. When the Game of the Year is announced, it sets the stage for what comes next. It tells developers what they should invest their time into creating, what the current trend is, and the standards consumers expect. When Astro Bot wins, it sends a message about what we value in games. Are we celebrating bold, groundbreaking experiences, or are we settling for safe, nostalgic fun? Astro Bot's win highlights a growing trend in gaming, prioritising nostalgia over innovation. The game relies on charm and polish, rather than delivering something truly groundbreaking. And while there's nothing wrong with a game that's fun and familiar, it becomes a problem when that's what we hold up as the pinnacle of the industry. Think for a second, what sort of games will spawn from Astro Bot's win? It could be more platformers that flood the market, bringing a renaissance of old school gaming. Or, and call me pessimistic, it will be nothing but reference media. Games that lean on our collective nostalgia for a long lost childhood. No real gameplay, no interesting stories, just pure member berries.
Remember Chewbacca again? Oh, I love to remember Chewbacca.
We can already see this happening currently within the gaming landscape. Skins referring to other games and franchises are everywhere. Obviously Fortnite jumps straight to the forefront of my mind. Having Ariana Grande stomp on the Terminator with some Air Jordans, then jumping into the Tesla Cybertruck to cop a victory royale. Hop into a game of Warzone and you'll see Snoop Doggy Dogg smoking kush with Cheech and Chong, before they're ambushed by a double team of Rambo and Lionel Messi as he does 5-star skills on. The point is, it's getting ridiculous with the amount of crossovers we see in gaming. Although it doesn't affect gameplay itself, it does affect the world and immersion of each game. Step up from skins in terms of lack of creativity is the IP cash grabs. They're the games that are solely sold on the fact that you know the IP is based upon. The worst offender of this is Funko Fusion, a game based on disfigured and soulless looking toys that are based upon popular franchises. Although this game was released before Astro Bot, it perfectly exemplifies my concerns about what the next few years of gaming could look like. Lazy gameplay, recycled stories we've seen countless times, and a lack of genuine creative influence. Strip away the references, and what remains is a game that feels destined for the bargain bin. To be fair, 2024 wasn't the strongest year for gaming. Looking at the shortlist for 2024's Game of the Year, we've got two games that in my personal opinion shouldn't be here. A DLC for an existing Game of the Year winner, and a sequel to a remake that was split into two separate games because who doesn't love buying an old game twice? DLC and remakes should not be anywhere near the Game of the Year title. The award in my eyes is for creating something that no one else has before. Updating the graphics and removing some of the early 2000s jank is not Game of the Year worthy. And what standard does it set if a piece of DLC won the award? A win for DLC would mean that publishers could recycle old assets, slap on a new storyline, and still be considered the pinnacle of gaming for that year. It lowers the bar for what qualifies as a full innovative experience, and sends the message that new ideas aren't necessary. Just expand on what's already been done and call it a day. Now, before you run down to the comment section, I'm not saying that Elden Ring Shadow of Erdtree and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth are bad games, far from it. But if they're so deserving of recognition, why not create two new categories, Best DLC and Best Remake? They'd easily outshine their competition, and it would preserve the prestige of the Game of the Year award without diluting what it's meant to represent. Big titles like Kingdom Come, Deliverance 2, Avowed and Assassin's Creed were all delayed, leaving a lineup of good games but very few groundbreaking ones. Games like Helldivers 2 and Dragon's Dogma 2 were polished and enjoyable, but didn't really define the year in gaming. In a stronger year, Astro Bot might not have stood out, but in 2024, with no clear frontrunner, its polished nostalgia was enough to clinch the title. Astro Bot is a fun, charming game, but as we look to the future, we need to ask ourselves, is good enough really good enough for Game of the Year?